The first time I saw Marcus Webb, I thought he was going to die. Not in the metaphorical sense, mind you. I mean literally, physically, spectacularly die right there in the middle of our most sacred evaluation chamber. His vitals were dropping faster than a stone in a gravity well. His skin had gone the color of spoiled milk, and he was making these wheezing sounds that suggested his respiratory system was about to file for bankruptcy. "Subject is failing," announced Overseer Krell in that flat, clinical tone he used when he was worsely enjoying himself. "Termination of experiment in 3, 2, wait." I held up one of my primary manipulators, my scales rippling with uncertainty. "Give him another moment." Krell's eye stalks swiveled toward me with obvious irritation. "Protocol dictates." "Protocol can take a long walk out an airlock," I snapped. "Just wait. Now, you have to understand something about humans. We had been testing them for 6 cycles now, ever since their little marble of a planet had caught the attention of the Galactic Syndicate. Standard procedure, really. New species pops up with primitive faster-than-light capability. We assess their worth, decide if they get a seat at the big kids' table or get turned into a nature preserve. Humans had been underwhelming. Their test scores were mediocre. Their physical capabilities barely registered on our scales. Their technology was held together with what I can only describe as hope and prayer to fictional deities. Frankly, most of the assessment committee had already written them off as another backwater species destined for catalog number and a polite rejection letter. But something about this Marcus Webb character bothered me. Maybe it was the way he had walked into the chamber with that infuriating smirk on his face, like he knew something we didn't. Maybe it was how he had looked directly at our observation window, the one that was supposed to be invisible, and actually winked. The audacity. "Vital signs critical," droned the medical monitor. "Subject experiencing complete system failure. Recommend immediate." Marcus Webb sat up, just like that. One second he was dying. The next he was sitting upright on the examination platform, cracking his neck like he had just woken up from a particularly good nap. His color returned to that odd peachy tan humans considered healthy. His breathing stabilized, and that smile, ancestors preserve me, that smile got wider. "So," he said, his voice carrying easily through the chamber despite the atmospheric differences we had carefully calibrated to stress test his physiology. "How did I do?" Krell's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Impossible. The toxin we introduced should have rendered you comatose at minimum, dead at maximum. You should not be conscious. You should not be alive." "Yeah, about that." Marcus swung his legs off the platform, his feet hitting the floor with a casual thump. "Funny thing about your toxin. Reminded me of something we have back home. You know what we call it, food poisoning." I felt my stomach sack clench. "Food poisoning? You are saying," I spoke up, my translator struggling to keep the disbelief out of my voice, "that you have encountered this compound before? On your planet? In your food?" "Well, not exactly the same compound," Marcus admitted, examining his fingernails with theatrical disinterest. "But close enough that my liver was like, 'Oh, this again? No problem, boss, I got this.' Little bit of nausea, some sweating, maybe a light coma for dramatic effect. And boom, good as new." "That is not how biology works," Krell insisted, his scales flushing an angry purple. "The compound we used is synthesized from the venom of a Korthax death serpent, one of the most lethal creatures in the known galaxy. It is specifically designed to target and shut down complex neural pathways. It has a 100% mortality rate across 417 tested species." Marcus shrugged. "Guess that makes 418 now, doesn't it? Or wait, do I still count as a failure since I technically died for like, 30 seconds? He glanced at the monitors displaying his vital readouts. "Actually, looks more like 45 seconds. New personal record." This was not going according to plan. The testing protocol was supposed to be straightforward. Physical assessment? Completed. Humans were weak, squishy, ridiculously fragile. Mental assessment? Completed. They were clever enough in that cute way primitive species sometimes were, but nothing exceptional. Stress resistance? This was supposed to be the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. Instead, this Marcus Webb was standing there in our evaluation chamber, very much alive, and looking entirely too pleased with himself. "Subject has clearly cheated," Krell declared, his voice rising to that pitch he got when he was losing an argument. "There is no other explanation. He must have been forewarned. He must have taken countermeasures. This test is invalid." "Cheated?" Marcus's eyebrows, those strange strips of hair above his eyes, rose dramatically. "You pumped me full of alien supervenom without warning, in a locked room, while I was strapped to a table, and I am the one who cheated. That is rich. That is absolutely rich." He laughed, a sharp bark of sound that made several of my colleagues flinch. "Tell me, Overseer Krell, is it? Tell me, when exactly during your very thorough examination of human biology did you bother to check what we have survived? We have extensive data." "No, I mean really survived. See, here is the thing about Earth." Marcus started pacing, now his movements loose and confident. "It is a death world. Capital D, capital W. You want to know what we consider casual environmental hazards? Radiation from our own star that literally cooks DNA. Temperature swings that would crack most species like eggs. An atmosphere that is slowly poisoning us with oxidation. Microorganisms that outnumber us 1,000,000 to 1 and are constantly trying to eat us from the inside out. And that is just Tuesday." I found myself leaning forward, genuinely curious now. "Exaggeration, is it though?" Marcus stopped pacing, turning to face the observation window directly, again with the direct eye contact through one-way glass. "How did he do that? You tested my blood, right? Found anything interesting?" I glanced at the datapad in my lower manipulator. We had indeed run extensive biological scans. "Your blood contains an unusually high concentration of proteins designed for clotting and immune response. It is aggressive." "Aggressive? What a polite way to put it." Marcus grinned. "Those are leftovers from thousands of generations of fighting off infections, parasites, viruses, bacteria, fungi, and whatever else wanted to make a home in our bodies. Our immune systems are not defense mechanisms. They are standing armies, highly trained, heavily armed, incredibly violent standing armies that treat anything non-human as a hostile invasion force." "That still does not explain your resistance to a neural toxin," Krell interjected. "Doesn't it? Our planet has been trying to kill us since before we climbed down from the trees. We evolved eating things that were poisonous. We developed tolerances to venom by repeatedly getting bitten by things that should have killed us. We learned to metabolize alcohol, which is literally a toxin, for fun, for recreational purposes. Do you understand how insane that is?" "Actually, no, I did not. And the best part," Marcus continued, clearly enjoying himself now, "the absolute best part? We got bored. We got so good at surviving our nightmare hell planet that we got bored and started looking for new and exciting ways to almost die. We throw ourselves out of aircraft for entertainment. We climb mountains that have killed hundreds of people just to say we did it. We invented sports where the entire point is to hit each other as hard as possible. We eat food so spicy it causes physical pain because it makes eating more interesting." Krell's eye stalks had retracted slightly, a sign of deep discomfort. "You are saying your entire species is suicidal?" No. Marcus wagged a finger at him. "We are not suicidal. We are competitive. There is a difference. Suicidal implies we want to die. We very much do not want to die. We are just really, really stubborn about it. Death keeps trying to claim us, and we keep saying, 'Not today, buddy, not today.'" I checked the evaluation scores on my datapad again. Physical capability, 4 out of 10. Mental acuity, 6 out of 10. Stress resistance, 2 out of 10. And that was before the toxin test. "You failed," I said quietly. "According to our metrics, you failed the evaluation." The chamber went silent. Marcus looked at me, then at Krell, then back at me. That smile never wavered. "I failed," he repeated slowly, tasting the words. "I failed your test." "Yes," Krell confirmed, sounding relieved to be back on script. "You failed. Your species fails. Earth will be classified as a protected preserve world, restricted from Galactic Syndicate membership. Then why? Marcus interrupted, his voice dropping to something quiet and dangerous. Are you still breathing? The temperature in the observation deck seemed to drop several degrees. Excuse me? Krell's translator stuttered over the word. You heard me. Marcus walked toward the observation window, each step deliberate. You just told me I failed your test. You just told me my species is not good enough for your little club. You just declared us inferior. He stopped directly in front of where I was standing, separated only by reinforced transparent alloy. So I will ask again. If I am such a failure, if humans are such a disappointment, if we are so weak and stupid and worthless, then why are you still breathing? Why are you standing there, behind your fancy shield, in your secure observation room, surrounded by guards and weapons and fail-safes? My scales rippled involuntarily. Why did you strap me to a table before running your test? Why did you use remote injection systems? Why did you make absolutely certain I could not reach you before you poisoned me? His eyes, those strange forward-facing predator eyes that humans had, bored into mine. I failed your test, but you are terrified of me. Aren't you? We are not, Krell started. You are. I can smell it. Literally. Your species releases a pheromone when frightened. Did you know that? Smells like burnt copper and old socks. This whole room reeks of it. Ancestors help me. He was right. I could smell it too now that he mentioned it. Here is what I think happened, Marcus continued. I think you ran your tests. I think you got your scores, and I think somewhere, deep in whatever you use for a brain, you realized something that scared you. You realized that we are not weak because we score low on your arbitrary measures. We are dangerous because we do not care about your measures. We survived things that would exterminate most species before they developed writing, and we did not just survive. We thrived. We conquered our planet not through biological superiority, but through sheer bloody-minded refusal to quit. He tapped the glass between us. Once. Twice. So yes, I failed your test. Congratulations. Put it in your report. File it away. Add us to your list of failures. His smile widened into something that would haunt my sleep cycles for weeks. But remember this moment. Remember the day you had to lock up a single, unarmed human in your most secure facility, poison him with your most lethal toxin, and he still stood up and asked why you were afraid. The silence stretched. The test is over, Krell announced, his voice barely steady. Subject is to be escorted back to the holding area. Sure thing, boss. Marcus gave us a little salute, 2 fingers to his forehead. Been a pleasure. Really. We should do this again sometime. As the guards, heavily armed guards I noted, escorted Marcus Webb from the chamber, I found myself staring at his evaluation scores. 4 out of 10. 6 out of 10. 2 out of 10. Failed. But my manipulators were shaking, my hearts were racing, and every instinct I had was screaming at me that we had just made a terrible mistake. Not in our testing. In our assumptions. The emergency council session was called exactly 4 hours after Marcus Webb walked out of that evaluation chamber. I had never seen the High Syndicate move so fast. Usually it took weeks just to schedule a meeting about scheduling a meeting. But apparently, when you have a species that casually survives toxins designed to liquefy neural tissue, bureaucracy develops a sudden sense of urgency. The council chamber was packed. Every major species had sent representatives. The Vorn Collective, the Thexian Hive, the Chromath Empire, even the usually isolationist Peldrax had bothered to show up, all because of one human who refused to die on schedule. Order, called High Chancellor Vex, slamming his resonance staff against the floor. This emergency session will come to order. I settled into my designated seat, trying to ignore the whispered conversations happening in a dozen different languages around me. The atmosphere was tense. Scared, even. Over what? A species that barely qualified for spaceflight? A species we had already failed. Krell was the first to speak, his scales still showing traces of stress coloration from earlier. The test results are clear. Humans score below minimum thresholds in multiple categories. They lack the physical prowess of warrior species, the intellectual capacity of scholar species, and the stress resistance necessary for syndicate operations. The recommendation is obvious. Deny membership and establish Earth as a restricted preserve. And yet, a voice called from the Vorn section, sharp and clicking. You felt the need to call an emergency session rather than simply filing the standard rejection documentation. Why? Krell's eye stalks twitched. There were complications. Complications, repeated Chancellor Vex slowly. Elaborate. So Krell elaborated. He told them about the toxin test, about Marcus Webb dying for 45 seconds, and then sitting up like nothing had happened, about his little speech, about that question. Why are you still breathing? The chamber erupted. This is exactly what I warned about, shouted Representative Thune. A Chromath with battle scars scorks his exoskeleton. Deathworld species are unstable, unpredictable, dangerous. They are primitive, countered another voice. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They pose no real threat. Tell that to the assessment team that required psychological counseling after one conversation with an unarmed human, someone muttered. Chancellor Vex slammed his staff again. Silence. I want facts, not panic. Assessment Coordinator Reth, you have been monitoring the human situation most closely. Your analysis? That was me. Lucky me. I stood, my datapad clutched in my lower manipulators. Honored council members. The situation with humans is complex. Their test scores are indeed below standard thresholds. However, those scores may not accurately represent their actual capabilities. Then the tests are flawed, Krell interjected. No, the tests measure what they are designed to measure. The problem is that humans excel in categories we do not test for because we never needed to. I pulled up a holographic display showing human history. Consider their development timeline. They went from primitive agriculture to spaceflight in roughly 10,000 years. That is faster than 80% of known species. Speed of development is not a primary criterion, someone called out. Perhaps it should be, I countered. Because what drove that development was not intelligence or physical superiority. It was adaptation. Humans adapt constantly, aggressively. Put them in a frozen wasteland, they invent clothing and shelter. Put them in a desert, they find water and build cities. Put them underwater, they hold their breath for ridiculous lengths of time and develop diving technology. They do not specialize. They generalize. They survive anywhere, eat almost anything, and turn every obstacle into a challenge to overcome. I switched the display to show human warfare. And when they do not fight fair. They fight dirty. They use tools, strategy, psychology, deception, attrition. They invented weapons that kill from beyond visual range. They developed tactics that turn their weaknesses into strengths. They created something called guerrilla warfare, where a smaller, weaker force can defeat a larger, stronger one through pure stubbornness. This is fear-mongering, Krell protested. They are one small planet with minimal military capability. Are they? I pulled up recent surveillance data. In the 6 cycles since we began monitoring Earth, they have developed 3 new propulsion systems, established colonies on 2 neighboring celestial bodies, and begun mining operations in their asteroid belt. Their military technology has advanced at an exponential rate. And here is the interesting part. They are doing all of this while simultaneously fighting each other. They are not even unified as a species yet. And they are already expanding into space at a rate that concerns our analysts. The murmuring grew louder. Now imagine, I continued, what happens when they do unify? What happens when they stop fighting each other and start focusing that competitive, aggressive, stubborn energy outward? What happens when a species that survived everything their nightmare planet threw at them decides they want a seat at our table? Then we destroy them, Thune declared bluntly. Before they become a problem. The chamber went silent. Chancellor Vex's expression was unreadable. That is a rather extreme position, Representative Thune. Is it? We have protocols for dangerous species. We have done this before. We have culled non-sentient threats and quarantined aggressive primitives. I said carefully. We have never preemptively exterminated a spacefaring species, because we were afraid of what they might become. There is a first time for everything. Actually, a new voice interrupted. There is not. Everyone turned. Marcus Webb stood in the entrance to the council chamber, flanked by two very nervous-looking guards. He was not supposed to be here. Humans were not supposed to be anywhere near council proceedings. Security protocols alone should have prevented this. And yet, there he stood. How did you get in here? Krell demanded. I asked nicely. Marcus smiled that infuriating smile. Also, your security systems are impressive, but not designed to detect someone who can hold their breath for 4 minutes and fit through ventilation shafts. Evolutionary advantage of being a persistence predator. We are very good at getting into places we are not supposed to be. This is a violation of— Oh, please, Marcus interrupted, walking down the central aisle like he owned the place. You were just discussing whether or not to commit genocide against my entire species. I think I have earned the right to attend the meeting. He stopped in the center of the chamber, turning slowly to look at each section of seats. So here is how this is going to go. You are going to listen to me. Really listen. And then you are going to make a choice. But you are going to make it with full information. Chancellor Vex should have had him removed. Should have called security. Should have done 100 things that protocol demanded. Instead, he gestured for silence. Speak, human. Thank you. Marcus clasped his hands behind his back. First, let me address Representative Thune's suggestion. You want to destroy Earth? Go ahead. Try it. You have the technology. You have the weapons. You could probably crack our planet like an egg before we even knew what was happening. He paused, but you will not. You know why. Because you are smart. You are civilized. You have built an entire galactic society on principles of coexistence and mutual benefit. Committing genocide would betray everything you claim to stand for. It would make you the monsters you accuse us of being. Thune's mandibles clicked angrily, but he did not respond. Second, you are afraid of us. That is okay. That is actually smart. You should be cautious around any species that survived the kind of environment we did. But here is what you are missing. We are not violent because we enjoy it. We are violent because our planet taught us that sometimes violence is the only language survival understands. But we also invented art, music, literature, philosophy, democracy, medicine, and about 1,000 other things that have nothing to do with fighting. He started pacing, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. You test for intelligence, but you define intelligence as your kind of intelligence. You test for physical capability, but you define capability as your kind of capability. You test for stress resistance, but you define stress as your kind of stress. And then you are surprised when we do not fit neatly into your categories. The tests are standardized across all species, Krell objected. Exactly, Marcus said. Standardized.
One size fits all.
Except we do not fit. We never will, because we evolved differently. We think differently. We solve problems differently. And that scares you because you cannot predict us. You cannot control us. You cannot fit us into your nice, neat, bureaucratic boxes. I found myself nodding without meaning to. Here is what I propose, Marcus continued. Instead of denying us membership or trying to wipe us out, how about you try something radical? How about you give us a real test? Not your standardized evaluation. A real-world problem. Something your syndicate actually faces. Give us a challenge, and let us show you what humans actually do well. Absolutely not, Krell said immediately. That is not how this works. Why not? Marcus challenged. You are so confident we are failures. Prove it. Give us an impossible task, something your best and brightest could not solve. If we fail, you have your evidence. If we succeed, maybe you reconsider your definitions of success. Chancellor Vex leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. You are asking us to gamble on your species based on nothing but your confidence. No, Marcus corrected. I am asking you to gamble on us based on our track record. We went from living in caves to visiting other planets in the blink of an evolutionary eye. We split the atom. We decoded our own genetics. We built machines that think, and we did all of it, while fighting wars, surviving plagues, and arguing with each other about literally everything. If that is not evidence of capability, I do not know what is. The chamber was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence, thoughtful. Considering. There is a situation, Chancellor Vex said slowly. The Peldrax colony on Threshold Station. It has been dark for 3 cycles. No communications, no distress signals, nothing. We sent investigation teams, none returned. We have classified it as a total loss. What is on Threshold Station? Marcus asked. 70,000 colonists. Advanced research facilities. Strategic resources worth more than your entire planetary economy. Vex fixed Marcus with an intense stare, and something that killed 4 separate rescue attempts without leaving a trace. So you want us to solve your ghost station mystery? I want you to try. Take a team of humans. Go to Threshold Station. Find out what happened. Survive. If you can do that, we will revisit your application for membership. And if we fail, then you will have your answer about whether humans belong in the Syndicate. Marcus grinned. When do we leave? You accept these terms? Krell sputtered. Just like that? Without negotiation or preparation? Buddy, you just offered my species a chance to do something incredibly dangerous that nobody else could figure out. That is like catnip for humans. Of course I accept. Marcus looked around the chamber. Any other takers? Anyone else want to bet against humanity? No? Good. As Marcus was escorted out, ostensibly to prepare for the mission, I noticed something. The fear in the chamber had not disappeared. If anything, it had intensified. Because now we were not just afraid of what humans were, we were afraid of what they might accomplish. 3 cycles later, Marcus Webb and a team of 40 humans departed for Threshold Station aboard a ship they had somehow retrofitted in less than 2 days. As I watched them go, Krell sidled up beside me. He is going to fail, Krell said. They all are. And then this nonsense will be over. Maybe, I replied. Or maybe we just gave a Death World species exactly what they needed to prove us wrong. Impossible. I thought about Marcus sitting up after being clinically dead. About his question. About the look in his eyes when he accepted a suicide mission without hesitation. Is it though? I asked. Krell did not answer. None of us did. Because deep down, beneath all our protocols and standards and bureaucratic certainty, we all knew the truth. Humans had not failed our test. We had failed to understand what we were testing. And now we were about to find out the cost of that failure. The question was not whether humans would survive Threshold Station. The question was whether the rest of us would survive what came after.